first necessary condition, actually this is the only necessary condition. Very similar to that we heard in the unconstrained case, as it said that the derivative would be 0, that necessary condition, or derivative would be 0. Here it is a minimum specific condition. So when you say kt point, the kt point depends on the function itself, but nevertheless kt point, I mean, it's a generic word. So what it says, now suppose that you have a problem where, and it is given that minimization problem, and it is given that A is a local minimum. Then it says ZA must be empty. That basically means A must be a kt point. That's what it is. So what is that we want to show? We want to show ZA equal to empty. What does that mean? That means if D is any linearizing direction, then we should have grad FA transpose D greater than equal to 0. If we show this, that will mean that ZA equal to empty. If you remember, ZA is the set of all directions for which grad FA transpose D was strictly less than 0. It was negative. Okay. That's what you want to show. Okay. And now it is given that the A is a local minimum satisfying KTCQ1. Notice this one. Okay, satisfying KTCQ1. What does that mean? That means there exists some epsilon greater than 0 such that, and a continuously differentiable curve alpha defined from 0 to epsilon to t is the feasible set such that what, alpha 0 equal to A, and the derivative, right side derivative, alpha t minus A divided by t, A means alpha 0, that is equal to D. Because it satisfies KTCQ1. So for you have taken a D in dA, this is what we want to show. So for that you should say let D belongs to dA be an arbitrary direction, whatever direction. Because KTCQ1 holds at A, there exists. So KTCQ1 implies this. Okay, fine. So one condition we have used. The other condition is A is a local minimum. Now because A is a local minimum, there exists local minimum. It is better you pay attention. So this means there exists some delta greater than 0 such that delta less than epsilon, I can always take delta less than epsilon, such that x belong to the delta neighborhood of A intersection T. So if x is a feasible point of distance less than delta from A, then fx is greater than equal to fa. Okay, so in a delta neighborhood of A, the functional value at all feasible points is bigger. That's why you are saying A is local minimum. Fine. So that means so let me take Okay, so let me write simply, let x belong to B delta A intersection T. Okay, fine. Remember, what do we want? We want to show grad Fa transpose T greater than equal to 0. Okay. Okay, no problem. Let me write f of alpha t minus f of alpha 0. What is that? Now what has happened is that I have this, and then actually this delta epsilon is not this thing. So this much is delta. Inside this, whatever I mean fx I get, fx will be greater than equal to fa. So this much is delta. Okay, I understood that part. And there is a alpha function curve coming to a. Fine enough. So what I am looking at a alpha t that is inside. Okay. So what alpha t? In fact, I should not take x belong to delta t. So let alpha t choose a t, take any t such that alpha t belongs to that p delta a. Okay, so essentially because alpha t is always in t, so it basically means b delta a intersection t. So this is my alpha t. I am choosing this alpha t. Okay, and I want to look at f of alpha t minus f of alpha 0, which basically means f of alpha t minus f of a. But then what do I know? Now f of, so use Taylor's theorem for single this thing, just one step. So what is that? Now that would be f dash of alpha 0 a plus some theta times alpha t minus alpha 0, that is a only, multiplied by alpha t minus alpha 0. The way I am writing, I should tell that do not confuse it with just real numbers. Remember, f dash is a row vector, and alpha t minus alpha 0, these are difference of two column vectors. Okay. Okay, so this product, this is what I know. What I know is that f of alpha t, because alpha t is inside that b delta a, f of alpha t minus f of alpha 0 is positive. That is because we have been given that a is local minimum. Okay, and therefore when I divide by t, that will still remain greater than 0, greater than equal to 0. Okay, now therefore taking limit t going to 0 plus f dash a plus whatever you have written, theta alpha t minus alpha 0 into alpha t minus alpha 0 by t, that will be greater than equal to 0. Because for each t it is greater than equal to 0, limit exists greater than equal to 0. No problem. Limit will exist. I will say right now, if this right hand side works, if the limit exists, but limit will exist. Why? Now this limit exists. Alpha t minus alpha 0 divided by t. Limit t going to 0 plus. I already know that is equal to t. Okay, that limit exists. And what about f dax? This thing. Oh, acha, I forgot to tell you theta. Theta lies between 0 and 1, right? Okay. And as alpha t is continuous, as t approaches to 0, alpha t approaches to alpha of 0, and that is a. Therefore, alpha t minus alpha 0, that will go to 0. Essentially, that is the meaning. Therefore, this will be equal to f dash a into d. Okay, so you wanted to show this. That is what actually this there exists delta. This delta less than epsilon is not necessary, though I might have written. I actually need alpha t inside b delta a, so that I can make this comparison that f of alpha t is greater than equal to f of a. That's what I need. I mean, there is no relation that I want to do like do with t and delta. I don't want to. Okay. If you want, you can write. But doubts here, if you have any doubts. Fine. Okay, you will see there this delta less than epsilon is not required. What I require, there exists delta so that this happens, no problem. Here you say take t small such that alpha t is inside b delta. You will get that is because alpha is continuous. Okay. That's fine. Okay. So what does that say? That says that if A is a local minimum where KTCQ1 holds, then A must be a KT point. Okay. So if you have a problem and somehow you see that KTCQ1 holds at all feasible points, okay, then all you need to do is find the KT points and then check out of them which are going to be local minimum. Okay, so it is very similar to what you did in the unconstrained case. Okay, now suppose that you have found a KT point. Okay, here we are assuming functions in C2 that is twice continuously differentiable. what conditions should they satisfy? How should I tell that A is a local minimum? What extra conditions shall I see? Then what it says, you consider those constraints, consider those active constraints. Actually, you can call them in your rough word, you can call them superactive constraints. What are superactive constraints? Now, active constraints means I belongs to, that's GI equal to 0. Okay, and then each GI will come with some lambda I because it is a KT point. Okay, and whichever has positive lambda I, those are superactive. This is for you to remember. This is not a standard word or something. Okay, just remember. So all you are looking at those active constraints for which lambda I is positive. What is this lambda I? Now see, you said A is a KT point. Because A is a KT point, it will come with some lambda i's and wj's. Okay, and what is D plus A? Now D plus A consists of those directions from the linearizing cone for which grad gi transpose D equal to 0 for all these superactive constants. Remember, by definition, D belonging to the linearizing cone means that grad gi transpose D is greater than equal to 0. Okay, and assume that D plus A is that for these superactive constants it is equal to 0. That's D plus A. So then the first condition is given. This is very powerful and it is given in terms of D plus A. It says if D transpose HLD is positive for each non-zero direction D in D plus A, then A is a strict local minimum. Okay, this one is very powerful and very, very useful. I will show that. Okay, so first I will give the argument. Okay, this one is a bit longer, so pay attention. Proof is written later also, so don't worry. What do I want to show? I want to show that. So suppose I assume suppose D transpose HL, L is the Lagrangian, huh? D, L is the Lagrangian where? Which lambda I, which Wj? Now corresponding to the point A, nothing else. Okay. Suppose that this holds for all non-zero direction in this D not equal to 0. Then I want to say that A is a strict local minimum. That's what I want to say. Okay. Suppose A is not. Okay. Suppose it is not. Okay. It is not. Then what does it mean? It means there exists a sequence of points AK converging to A. It is not a local minimum. So such that AK is not equal to A, distinct points, sequence of distinct points converging to A such that f of AK is less than equal to f of A. right? I am saying it is not a strict local minimum. So that means there are some points, there is a sequence of points where the functional value is even lesser. And that's it, converging. Okay. Now what you do, you write this as, these are distinct, points are distinct, AK is distinct from A. So I can write this as AK minus A norm, AK minus A divided by AK minus A norm. So that I can write as TK, and this part I can write as DK. DK is what? Na, DK is a unit vector. TK is what? Na, some value. Okay, that's what it is. So now I want to write down F AK minus F A. So that is a number less than equal to 0, isn't it? Okay. But by Taylor's theorem, remember the functions are C2, continuously differentiable. So I am going to go up to second degree term with a remainder term. So this plus grad FA transpose AK minus A is TK DK plus TK square DK transpose HF A DK plus some remainder term which goes to 0, which is going to 0 in comparison to TK square, right? That because I mean that is the norm of TK DK. Norm of TK DK is TK only. So it is small little o of TK square. Okay. What about GAK minus GA? Now look. What we are talking about, G means GI. Okay. Now are we talking about the active constants? Now yes. I am talking about the active constants. I am actually talking about the active constants. Okay. For active constants, GIA is anyway 0. Now that is true. And GI of any point is greater than equal to 0. That is true. So this is greater than equal to 0. Okay. And what is this expansion with respect to Taylor's theorem? Now the similar TK grad GI A transpose DK plus TK square DK transpose H standing for the Hessian DK plus little o of TK square. And what about Hj of AK minus Hj of A? Now Hj for any feasible points, Hj is always 0. There identity, so this difference is 0. Okay, no problem. I still write down this pk grad hj a transpose dk plus tk square dk transpose h. Oh, you write gi, huh? Here I am considering I active. GI active here. And here for all j. Tk plus order of little o of tk square. Fine. Then what I do, now I take first minus second minus third. What do I get? Now I will get a number negative less than equal to 0. What I am doing? First minus second minus third. Okay, that will be less than equal to 0. Okay, so here I am doing. So first what I will get? Now I will get tk before I this first minus second, here when I am doing minus second, I will do it after multiplying their lambda is and considering all those active. Okay, considering all those active. Fine. And here what I will do for the third, I will multiply by wj. Anyway, the value is 0, and for all j, and take the difference. So what I will be getting? So essentially, what I am doing, tk grad fa transpose minus summation grad gi a transpose lambda I minus summation wj. This is lambda I active. Huh? I am writing active I in a. This is wj. This is for all j. Grad hj a transpose whole tk. That will still be negative, and there is another term tk square tk transpose. This is nothing but what is here within this square bracket is nothing but hl. I mean nothing but grad l. Okay, the one that I have written in square bracket is nothing but grad l, right there, because all I have not considered is this lambda I equal to 0. So okay, here it is dk plus something little o of dk square. This part clear?
Yes.
Okay. So instead of that, let me simply write as tk grad l a transpose dk plus tk square dk transpose hl at a only dk plus order of tk square, little o of tk square. Okay. But then okay, right now I will need something else, just a little bit. I didn't mention it earlier. Here I am just waiting so that you can see the screen. I wrote ak minus a as tk dk, where dk are what? Now dk are unit vectors. These are unit vectors. So if you consider the sequence dk, that is the sequence d1, d2, this sequence, if you consider this sequence of unit vectors, where are they? Now they are in the unit sphere of Rn. Okay, is the unit sphere of Rn closed and bounded? Now of course it is closed and bounded, so it is compact, right? Because it is compact, so this is a bounded sequence, so it will have a convergent subsequence. Okay, that is the property of compactness. It will have a convergent subsequence. Actually, you don't need any compactness or anything. If it is bounded sequence given, you first consider the first coordinates. That becomes a bounded sequence, so it will have a convergent subsequence. Now, corresponding to that convergent sequence, you consider the second coordinates. That is a bounded sequence, so that will have a convergent subsequence. So it will be a subsequence of the first subsequence, right? So then now corresponding to that subsequence, you consider the third one, third coordinates. Ultimately, you will get a subsequence for which this is convergent. Okay, so every bounded sequence has a, in Rn, okay, has a convergent subsequence. Very, very, I mean, first you consider the first coordinate, apply the result from real variable result, then consider the second coordinates and accordingly. But while considering the second coordinates, you consider the second coordinates for the subsequence that you have obtained for the first coordinates. Anyway, so this is the sequence, so it will have a convergent subsequence. And without loss, so whatever convergent subsequence we are having, I can simply take my discussion to that subsequence only. I can consider those AKs only, because that will also converge to A. So without loss of generality, let dk converge to D. It will have a convergent subsequence converging to some D. Without loss, I am saying my whole sequence, because that subsequence is the is the sequence that I am considering. Basically, whatever subsequence you get, you consider those AKs only. So without loss of generality, so let us assume that dk goes to D. So what is D then? Now D is also a unit vector. Okay. Okay. Now you come back to what we had. So what did you have? Now for this, for each dk, I had this is the case. Okay. Now what will happen if I take the limit? Okay. Let me see what I want to do. Now I want to divide by tk, the left hand side by tk. So I will have grad L transpose tk plus tk times something plus order of tk square by tk, and I want to take limit k going to, I mean, yeah, k going to infinity. So when I do that, what I will get, I will get that 0 greater than equal to grad L A D, and this becomes 0 and this becomes 0. Okay. So what I have got is that grad L D is less than equal to 0. Wait a minute. Arey, yaar, sorry. I missed one more on this thing. What am I doing? I will erase this because anyway grad LA equal to 0 given to me because A is a KT point. So I did not use that. So that is why I was getting some conclusion without using. So that one. Okay. So what I do, okay, I will divide TK later on. First, I realize that this fellow is 0. This grad LA, grad L at evaluated at A. That fellow is 0. Why? Now A is given to be a KT point. So therefore, this equality is actually equal to TK square TK transpose HLA DK plus order of TK square. I mean order means little o of TK square. Okay. So here is what I have used, that A is a KT point given. So now I divide it by TK square. So when I divide it by TK square, I get TK transpose HLA DK plus order of TK square divided by TK square. So because this is this, and taking limit, take limit, we get 0 less than equal to D HLA D, because this term will go to 0 because that is little o. Okay, this will go to 0. Okay. So what is that we have got? Now we have got a D for which D transpose, not D transpose. We have got a D, unit vector D, for which D transpose HLA-D is negative, is less than equal to 0. Acha. What can I tell about this D? Is this in the linearizing cone or just any arbitrary unit sphere vector? No. This is in the linearizing cone. Now, how do you say this is in the linearizing cone? Now, this is in the linearizing cone because of the last two constants. You look at the last two constants. For example, divide this one by Tk, divide the LHS and the RHS by Tk. Suppose I am looking at this middle one, which reads GIAK minus GIA is equal to Tk grad GIA transpose Dk plus Tk square Dk transpose H GIA Dk, etc. Now divide the LHS, that is 0, by Tk and the RHS by Tk, and let limit k going to infinity. What will you get? Now from the first term, you will get grad GIA transpose D. Second term will give you 0, third term will give you 0. And since you are dividing, everything is always greater than equal to 0, so it will ultimately give you that grad GIA transpose D is greater than equal to 0 for all GI active. Similarly, you will get grad HJA transpose DK is equal to 0. Okay, because each of them is 0. Okay, so that basically means from, let me write it below, from 2 and 3, where I should rename them 2 and 3. Okay, so like that is 2, 3. From 2 and 3, we get D is in the linearizing direction, linearizing cone. Acha, so D is in the linearizing cone, but D transpose HLAD is less than equal to 0. Have a look at this. What is given? Okay, what we have assumed, suppose that D transpose HLD is greater than 0 for all D in, sorry, I should have written the D plus A, not D plus. Okay, because that is what it says. If this is greater than 0 for all D in D plus A. So, but I have got a direction where it is negative. Oh, so that basically means it does not belong to D plus A. It is in the linearizing cone, nevertheless, but it does not belong to A. D plus A was a subset of DA only, linearizing cone. It was a subset of, the linearizing cone. So, acha, so this is in the linearizing cone, but it does not belong to D plus A. Why it does not belong to D plus A? Now, it must be failing the condition of definition of D plus A. And the definition of D plus A says that for all superactive constants, grad GIA transpose D has to be equal to 0. So because it is failing, so it basically means there is some grad GIA transpose D which is positive, and for some superactive constants. Okay, so this basically means, so as D transpose HLA D is less than equal to 0, we see that D does not belong to D plus A. So there exists some superactive GI such that grad GI A transpose D must have been positive. I mean, because grad GIA transpose D is always greater than equal to 0. Equal to 0, it is not satisfying. So that is positive. Oh, acha. in that case, what did I say? I said that grad FA transpose D is equal to summation lambda I grad GI A transpose T plus summation Wj grad Hja transpose D. Grad Hja transpose D, anyway it is 0. But for one superactive, this was a superactive, that means the lambda I was positive. And for this grad GIA transpose D is positive. So this basically means this is positive. Okay. So you have got grad FA transpose D is positive. Okay. But then look at the first condition. This is the first one. Do the same trick of dividing by Tk and letting k going to infinity. Okay. Limiting. What do you get? You get grad Fa transpose D is less than equal to 0. Okay. And that gives you a contradiction. Look at equation 1. Divide by Tk. Take limit we get grad Fa transpose T is less than equal to 0. This is a contradiction. Why did we obtain this contradiction? Now we obtained this contradiction because we said, suppose that A is not a point of strict local minimum, and therefore we got a sequence AK of points, distinct points other than A, converging to A, where FAK was less than equal to FA. Everything started from there. Okay. So that is the argument.
Me,
Yes.
so when we got that D doesn't belong to D plus of A, that itself is a contradiction because we initially assumed it belongs to D plus A. Why didn't we stop there itself?
Oh, here.
Yes, sir. Initially we assumed D belongs to D plus A. Now we got that D doesn't belong to.
Right. Wait a minute. What we have assumed that D transpose HLD is greater than 0 for all D belonging to D plus A. Right.
Yes, sir.
Now we got D transpose HLD is less than equal to 0.
Okay, I got it, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The proof of part B. Part B will follow. Part B follows from part A, because in that case, part B, if HLA is PD, then A is a strict local minimum. Well, if HLA is PD, then for any D, whether in D plus A or D minus A or wherever, as long as it is non-zero, D transpose HLA D will be bigger than 0. So therefore, A is a strict local minimum. So this one is very, very useful. B is used frequently. This is B is very useful frequently, but A is more powerful. And then there is this C is equally powerful, and it says if HL is PSD in some neighborhood, then A is a local minimum. That I can tell. Let me tell it here. So suppose that I can tell it on the top also. You don't need. Here also I have space. So what it says that if HL is PSD in some neighborhood B delta A, then A is a local minimum. Now because HL, now what is HL by the way? Now L is F minus summation I lambda I Gi. What are lambda I Wj? And they correspond to A only. We are only talking about A. So these lambda I Wj, these are corresponding to A only. And when you are talking about HL, you are considering F minus that those lambda I Gi, those Wj Ha. So lambda 1 is equal to 2, then you would have said F minus 2 G1 minus 3 G2 dash 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 dash. Anyway, that is a function. That is my L function. Okay. Now, what I know is that as soon as I know that KT point means what? Now, KT points means grad L at A, that is equal to 0. Some extra things are there, but this is equal to 0. Acha. And then what are you saying? Now you are saying HLA. This is PD. Oh, sorry, PSD in a neighborhood in some B delta A. Okay. What does that tell about the function L itself? Now, in that case, from my unconstrained minimization, I know that A is a local minimum for L. That I know from Taylor series, that we have proved already. Okay. Acha. A is a local minimum for L. What does that mean? Now that means in some small neighborhood, okay, L of A plus H will be bigger than equal to L of A, where H is small. Vector. H is a vector, small vector. Okay. That is acha. But then what is that? L of A plus H. Now L of A plus H is F of A plus H minus summation lambda I Gi A plus H minus summation Wj Hj A plus H. I am assuming A plus H is also in T. But then Hj, you remember, Hj are equal to 0. Okay. So that is no point in writing. Minus F of A minus summation lambda I Gi A. But then lambda I Gi A is no point in writing because that is equal to 0. Okay, so this whole thing is greater than equal to 0. So this implies F of A plus H minus F of A is equal to summation lambda I Gi A plus H. But you remember Gi functions are all greater than equal to 0. Okay, so therefore this whole thing is greater than equal to 0. So that basically means for all small h, f a plus h minus f a plus h is greater than equal to f a. Basically this means. So that means f a plus h is greater than equal to f a. So which means A is local minimum for f. Okay, just local minimum for. Okay, so that was item C. If HL is PST, and it is useful. There were places where you cannot have cannot apply A and B, but then you can apply C. Okay. Fine, I will stop here. There were examples that I wanted to show, but I will show those examples in the next class, that is on Friday. Okay, there are 2 examples there. Fine. Any doubt you want to ask, you can ask.
Sir, in problems in general, if we say that a point is minimum, then do we mean it is a global minimum?
No. I only mentioned at 1 or 2 places I mentioned because those were linear cases, our LPP cases, and we already know that local minimum, global minimum, they are the same. And I deliberately left it without writing local or global, so that people will try to think why I have written like that, and then remember the result that local is same as global. Actually, it is true for not only LPP, but it is true for convex problems. So, like, yeah, forget that.
Okay,
But
sir. Okay, sir. So just minimum implies that we're talking about local minimum only.
always, it should always mean if we are talking about the general cases. Okay, but when somebody is talking in relation to the LPP or something, then you realize that okay, these are the same thing.
Yes, okay.
And then when there is a question, optimize this, that means maximize, minimize. So you are supposed to talk about local minimum, local maximum, global minimum, global maximum. Optimize means you give all possible information, whatever you can.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
I am sorry, but today I somehow felt that even if people are just becoming too lenient and not concentrating more, depending too much on the video. So like keeping all of them like, okay, I will read it later, that kind of attitude. So that's not good. You are supposed to, videos are there in case you have doubt or something. Okay, anyway, so we stop here. We'll meet Friday. This Friday, I believe I will be able to cover these 2 examples and whatever is remaining. That is a little bit of Lagrangian, Lagrange multiplier method, where we only have the equality constants. Okay, and please remember, I am telling again and again, anybody, please do not, when you are trying to write in a language that we have been discussing. That will give me a feeling that you have adopted these things. If you have not adopted what we have been discussing, then there is no point I give evaluating you. You get evaluated from somebody else in that case. If you are not writing not willing to write what we have discussed, fine enough. Like there is like I am not willing to evaluate that. Be very this thing, whatever. And some few students were saying, sir, this was like confusing, I did not understand. Whatever is the question, this question is for everybody. So nobody is going to get a special benefit. Nobody is getting any special benefit. There are more than 180 students. Everybody is equal. Whatever is the question, it is uniform. It is difficult, uniform. It is easy, even then uniform. It is confusing, even then uniform. So do not say, some of the people did not understand it, that where in the, I think, the transportation problem. So few I think few of them are like they did not understand that. though it was clearly written, you transport all the units. But I mean, so please do not complain about the questions. Questions, whatever they are uniform. Okay, and like I try my best to give you some good questions. Okay, so that you can, and see, when I am going to give you a new questions, it is going to be like heavy on your comprehension. You have to understand. If I give you a direct question, it will not, obviously it will not demand your comprehension. I mean, your ability to comprehend, it will not be demanding, but you will not get training. Somewhere else you go, you will find a good question where you will have to understand. So you better try those things here. Anyway, like when I set questions, I really don't bother. So whether a single person, I mean, misunderstands, or the whole class misunderstands, it doesn't matter. Whatever is written, understand exactly that much. Do not understand epsilon less. Do not understand epsilon more. Anything else you understand, your responsibility. Okay. Bye.